Located in northwest Iowa next to the quiet town of Lakeview is Blackhawk Lake, a natural resource that attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. This 922-acre lake is an economic engine for Sac County, and with the surrounding parks and abundant shoreline access, it provides recreational opportunities for all types of outdoor enthusiasts. While Blackhawk Lake offers outstanding fishing, recreational boating, swimming, wildlife watching, hunting, and camping opportunities, it is not without issues. Blackhawk Lake was formed thousands of years ago following the last glacial retreat. As with most glacially formed shallow lakes in this region, Blackhawk Lake is hypereutrophic, meaning it has high levels of nutrients. These nutrients, especially phosphorus, can fuel harmful algae blooms, which create human health concerns and can harm aquatic life. The local community formed the Blackhawk Lake Protection Association and partnered with the Iowa DNR to understand the impacts and the sources of these nutrients. A comprehensive study was completed, and they developed a long-term management plan with the goal of reducing phosphorus inputs by almost 80% over the next 30 years. Work on Blackhawk Lake and its watershed began in 2012 and has been going strong ever since. Strong partnerships at the local, state, and federal level are ensuring that Blackhawk Lake will be here for future generations to enjoy.
The Blackhawk Lake Protection Association was formed in 2008, basically to support the lake restoration project. The goal of the Blackhawk Lake Protection Association and its motto is to improve water quality and the recreational benefits of Blackhawk Lake. We have a very diverse membership from boaters, anglers, Main Street business people, property owners along the lake, farmers, as well as landowners in the watershed. And the one thing that they do have, that they do enjoy all together, is a love for the lake and the surrounding community.
When we talk about lake restoration projects, the first thing that pops into most people's minds is doing work directly in the lake. But to be effective at making long-term improvements, we really need to focus on the watershed as well. That's what's really going to make Blackhawk Lake more resilient to future impacts. Now, the catalyst for a lot of this watershed work was the Section 319 program of the DNR, which funded a watershed coordinator and helped pay cost share on a lot of the projects in the watershed.
The Blackhawk Lake Watershed Project has implemented a number of best management practices to reduce soil erosion going to the lake. Our goal is to reduce soil erosion, which limits the amount of phosphorus going to Blackhawk Lake. A number of these practices have been things such as terraces, which reduce the slope length on rolling acres, preventing soil loss there. We've also installed a number of grassed waterways, which target areas where we would have gully erosions in fields. It slows down that water and takes out the sediment that has been carried across the field and prevents that from being deposited into here in the watershed, Carnarvon Creek. Along Carnarvon Creek, we've also stabilized a lot of the eroding stream bank bends, which has been our number one source of sediment reduction in the watershed. To date, we've done over 2 miles of stream bank stabilization in the watershed. That's been using hard armoring, using either crushed concrete or rock. So we've been able to prevent those stream banks from sloughing off into the creek, which 100% of that sediment would have been carried into Blackhawk Lake. Landowners in the watershed have put in filter strips on just about every section of Carnarvon Creek. Is protected with at least a 30-foot buffer. We've primarily used the Conservation Reserve Program to install native strips of grass along the stream, which slows water and prevents erosion during heavy rainfalls. The success of the Blackhawk Lake Watershed Project in improving water quality in the lake has been successful due to the partnership between the landowners here in the watershed, the farmer operators in the watershed, along with local private funding groups, as well as state and federal agencies that provide funding to get these practices on the ground. Farmers in the watershed have been adopting practices such as no-till, strip-till, and conservation tillage, which reduces the amount of disturbance of the soil we have in the watershed, which reduces the amount of erosion we have during large rainfall events here. This is a Conservation Reserve Easement Program site, which is the CREP program, which is a federal and state-funded program that installs man-made wetlands in watersheds to remove nutrients and provide wildlife habitat. So these programs install wetlands like this, which are excellent removers of nitrates coming out of tile lines and through waterways in watersheds like the Blackhawk Lake watershed. We have 2 of these in the watershed currently that treat around 500 acres each of water coming down through these. They're both being monitored by Iowa State University to see their effectiveness of removing both nitrates and phosphorus, but they're mostly used to remove nitrates in watersheds throughout the state.
As we made a lot of improvements to the watershed, and of course we're still working there, we've started to focus a lot more on issues that are directly in the lake. For example, we've been able to stabilize and armor almost a mile of shoreline on the lake. To put that into perspective, it's about 15% of the shoreline at the lake, which is significant. These were areas that were actively eroding and delivering sediment to the lake. Some of those shoreline projects also allowed us to open up the viewscape and improve accessibility along the shoreline. Now, one of the first big things that we did at the lake was renovate the fishery, and that was back in 2012. Our lake was dominated by common carp, which can have a really devastating impact on water quality. So we killed all the fish off and started over. And we did see some immediate water quality improvements there. In the years following, we've really been able to produce a great sport fishery. We've got trophy-sized walleye, muskie, and a really booming crappie population. We're also seeing more and more bass fishing tournaments each year. People are coming from all over the state to fish this lake. Unfortunately, we did get carp back in the system several years ago, and their population has been growing. One of our more recent projects we completed is designed to help with the long-term management of these fish. We built a new fish barrier and water control structure between the main lake and the inlet. Those carp want to run up into the wetland areas during the spawning season, where they can be quite successful. By excluding them from the wetlands and forcing them to actually spawn in the main lake basin, we can knock down the reproductive potential over time. We now also have the capability to dewater the inlet area, which is something that we've never been able to do before. So we can periodically dewater this area to manage carp if they get in there, but the real advantage is that we can also better manage aquatic vegetation. By dewatering the inlet, we can expose those mud flats, which we need to allow the germination of emergent plants like arrowhead, bulrush, and cattails. Now, it takes a couple of years to get a good stand of this vegetation established, but it's worth it. These plants are really good at filtering out nutrients and cleaning the water up on its way to the main lake basin. Over time, they'll drown out and get eaten up by muskrats, but we can reset the system with our new structure. Now, this particular project is another great example of our partnerships. We use 2 DNR programs, the Lake Restoration Program and Section 319 program, but we also got over $300,000 from the City of Lakeview and the Blackhawk Lake Protection Association. Probably the highest profile project that we've completed recently was the dredging of the lake. Now, our first dredging effort took place in the inlet, and that was several years ago, where we removed about 320,000 cubic yards of sediment. The vast majority of the watershed of Blackhawk Lake funnels through this area, and by dredging it, we can keep a lot of the sediment and nutrients from making it to the main lake basin. Just this year, we completed a very large-scale dredging project in the eastern basin of the main lake. There, we removed over 750,000 cubic yards of material. Now, this area was the shallowest part of the lake, and it gets hit hard by wind due to its shape. By deepening this area, it reduces the amount of sediment that gets picked up off the bottom on windy days or days when there's a lot of boat traffic. There's also additional benefits, like improved fish habitat, a reduced likelihood of having to manage vegetation out in the middle of the lake, and it allows for more recreation in years of low water. The Lake Restoration Program is the only funding source the DNR has for this type of work, so the LPA raised over $200,000 to help us out. Now, it's very difficult to make big changes in water quality overnight, but what we can do is make small course corrections over the long term to make this lake more resilient. So when we have really big rain and runoff events, or even extreme drought, the lake won't be impacted as much. Now we're about a third of our way through our 30-year timeline, and we're pretty much right on track with our goals for phosphorus and sediment reduction. By all accounts, this has been a successful project so far, and it certainly wouldn't be possible without all of our project partners. And the Blackhawk Lake Protection Association has really spearheaded the local movement for this.
The city of Lakeview and Sac County rely heavily on tourism, and the lake, of course, is the focal point. It's great to see how these cooperative efforts of state, county, city, and LPA come together to bring more tourism and economic growth to this lake area. And just recently, the DNR, the City of Lakeview, and the LPA received a national award for their lake management success story. And this only is further evidence of how the cooperation is key to including and improving the water quality and recreational benefits of Blackhawk Lake.